Have you ever seen a great golfer with a poor setup? Probably not, because it doesn't go hand in hand with great ball striking. You might get away with it, but it's not going to work over time, 9 holes, 18 holes, or literally 4 days in a row of good golf. So I'm going to give you some tips. They're general, but they should help you figure out what setup is correct for you to play your best golf. So the first thing would be stance width. It's an easy way for you to figure out how wide should my feet be. Often my students say, I don't know how wide. Should they just be the standard generic, a little bit wider than my hips? Maybe, but a really good playful way to figure it out is just jump. So you're gonna jump straight up and down, and where you land is where you land. It's a general way for your brain to organize that now I feel very stable and I'm ready to swing. If I do it again, when I jump straight up, I don't land here, so I'm not going to start there. So you jump and land and we're good to go. Now, how bent over should I be in your posture? You bend from your hips, so you got to take into account your flexibility and whether you can touch your toes or be able to do a deadlift in the gym. All of those things will help you and your brain say, okay, I need to bend from my hips. So if you visualize a dowel coming out of your pelvis, you're just going to take your hands and arms and you're going to bend from the hips, and when your fingertips reach the top of your kneecaps, you're in pretty good shape. I'll explain if you need to be a little more knee flex or a little bit taller. That's based on your wingspan. Your wingspan, you're either the same as your height, longer than your height, or shorter than your height. How do you know? Have a buddy come out, take a tape measure, and you'll go from middle finger to middle finger. You just spread it out and you measure. And that gives you a wingspan number. So if your wingspan is longer than your height, which mine is clearly not, then you might stand a little bit taller because your arms are longer. If your wingspan is shorter, when you're in this posture, you may just add a little bit of knee flex because your wingspan is shorter, your arms are shorter. I'm equal, neutral. Doesn't mean it's any better or any worse, it's just what I am. So I just have a very neutral setup. Next thing is the grip. So when you look at the best players on tour, you do see different grips. Why? So let's go over the trail hand grip first. Again, this is general, but this should give you a really good feel as to how your right hand or your trail hand should be on the club. Okay, I'm a righty, so I'm going to say right hand. So you take your hands together, put your right hand lower than the left because your right hand is lower on the club at the start. You're in a good posture. Stabilize your shoulders, and you're just going to swing your arms halfway back with your hands together in this praying position, and you're going to allow your trail elbow to bend or fold. Don't think about it, just do it. So I'm just going to go halfway back. Halfway back, you can see here that my right palm or my trail palm is facing the camera. That would mean I have a neutral grip. My right elbow is right in front of the seam on my shirt. You should be able to see that really easily back there. That's a neutral grip. It's called side on. Okay, here are your other options, and we're just going to go over 2 more to keep it very simple. You'll see, and I have students that just sit here and they go like this. Well, that's a pretty easy way to see that your right elbow tucked or your trail elbow tucked and my palm is up to the sky. That would be a more strong grip. And then the other one is this. Trail elbow up to the sky, right palm down to the ground, a weaker right hand. So now you know where your trail hand should be, generally speaking. We can tweak it, but now you have an idea of where to start. To help you even solidify that more, let's just say, so I'm a neutral player, you just saw that. So I'm going to hold the club with my right hand, trail hand, just very neutral, and I'm going to swing halfway back, halfway through. And I should feel that I have real control of the club face. It feels very stable. If you're an under player, or your trail hand's a little more under, you can see I am swinging it more out to the right because that's the way it would work, but that doesn't feel great to me. It feels like I might close the face. And then you'll try the other where your trail hand is more on top. Obviously that's a different arc, which we'll go over later. Can I play like that? I can, because I've played my whole life, but it's not perfect for me. So those are 2 tests that you can do for your trail hand. Finally, the lead hand, my left hand. Set up, if you're on the range, or get a 2x4 and simulate impact. So you're going to put the club flush on a board, so the leading edge is just flush on the board, and you're going to go right into impact and just hold it. Now, your club face should be square at impact. This lead hand is directly related to how much hip rotation I have in the golf swing. So if my lead hand was a little weak and I did this, it might be hard to see with the camera, but the face is too open. I don't want the face open. I'm looking for a square face. So I would know to make my lead hand a little bit more to the right, a little bit stronger. And there it stayed very square. So my lead hand, it's probably just 2 knuckles for me. But if you're limited in flexibility and you can't rotate as well, your lead hand may not look like this. It may be a little bit weaker. It may have to be eventually a little bit stronger if you're a different player. So this is a great general test to just see where you should start. The last thing I think everyone should check is shoulder mobility. So you'll drop the club, just stand straight up and down. I'm right-handed, so it's going to be with my right hand, my trail hand, and you just see how far back can you move this part of your arm behind you. Here's the key. When you see the great players that you watch, that I love, and you see some really nice backswing positions with their trail arm, these are the best players in the world. They are hypermobile. They can do things that an average person at a desk all day can't do. So if you don't have the mobility to do this, and you're trying to get into that perfect, quote unquote, what looks like a perfect backswing position, you simply may not be able to. So you may have to try and get a trainer or go in the gym and work on shoulder mobility. But that's a key part to where you should be at the top of your swing, and it's a key part in your setup. So I'm going to give you a quick tip. If you don't have a lot of shoulder mobility, so you literally can't move it, and you can't move it when you're in golf posture, therefore, you're not going to be able to shallow the club as well. In this setup that you stood up and you jumped, maybe you pull your trail foot back a little bit. That gives you a little more turn, and that can mitigate some of the lack of shoulder mobility. Okay, so now with my knowledge, with my unique setup, which by the way is very neutral, I can now feel free to hit a ball because I'm set up for me, and I know and I'm armed with information that should just help me swing a little more free rather than questioning myself all the time. So again, let's recap. Now you know how to get your stance width. Now you're armed with information about how long your arms are to your height. Many people don't even know that. Grip, it's the most important thing. Both hands do different things in the golf swings, but they're important and they are unique to you. Also shoulder mobility. Again, really good to know, do you have any, do you need more, and what you can do about it. So I've given you a general idea of where you should start. So now your golf IQ has gone up. You have information that you can go directly to your teacher or coach. If you don't have one, it's just good for you to know. And now you can build a setup based on your measurements that are very general but important, and then you can own your own swing based on your setup positions and hit the ball more solidly every time without thinking.